Boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see this our town of Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Halloween.
Halloween. Happy almost Halloween. I'm your host, Nick Emel, and this is episode number 237 of Tennis Podcast. I want to give a special ghoulish shout out to our Tennis Pod Plus members who are listening to this very episode early and ad-free right now. Every week on Tennis Podcast, I am joined by one of my rotating panel of guest sidekick hosts. One of us brings a top 10 list, the other does not know the list ahead of time, and they try to guess the items on the list in real time. Today, I am joined by professional candy analyst and Halloween expert.
I am the mayor of Halloween Town.
Daniel Zafran. Daniel?
You were considered as the original singer on A Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
That's a great segue into today's topic, but I'm not going to reveal that just yet. Daniel, you were previously on an August 2023 Tennis Pod Plus bonus episode where we held a movie theater candy draft. You lost decidedly.
Did I?
At the draft.
I didn't see the final number.
Yeah.
So how crushing of a defeat was this?
I think you actually won, but it's not important. The details aren't important. What's important is that you've been here before on a bonus episode, but this is your main feed debut. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this spookiest of weeks.
Yep. Halloween is this week as we record.
My God.
Yeah. Can you believe it's got here so quick?
I can't believe that explains all the bats on my neck right now.
Daniel, before we get going, can you give the folks like a 30-second overview? Who you are, why you're here, why you exist?
Well, I mean, the last part is anybody's guess, but for the first part, I am Daniel Zafran. I've been podcasting for coming up on 10 years now.
Ooh.
But I know. That's not, I said that like it was something to be proud of.
No.
But the main thing you might want to know about me is that I host a candy review podcast called Candy is Dandy that you can listen to anywhere. Each week we pick a different candy, give a little history, taste the candy, and review it. I'm hesitant to say, like, yeah, we give the history, because I feel like people who like candy don't necessarily they don't like history.
Your podcast is unique in that it's the only one of these things out there. It's the candy review podcast.
It is.
And you got all your mainstream candies like your Reese's and your Jolly Ranchers, but I was just listening today to your episode on halva. Am I saying that right?
There's like 400 ways to pronounce it, but your way is wrong.
Oh. Okay.
That is not one of them.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Anyway, point being that you can get candies you're familiar with and other candies. They play games, history of the candy, unwrapping and tasting of the candy. It's more interesting than it might sound when you first hear candy podcast. You might be thinking, but hey, it's worth it. I promise.
All I can hope is to do a little bit better than people's expectations.
And you're still working on it.
I haven't say I've gotten there, but I am hoping to get to that point.
It's perfect that you host a candy review podcast because candy is synonymous with which major U.S. holiday, Daniel?
Okay, let me think about this one. I mean, there are a few, actually. But
Actually, there are a few. You're right.
For today's purposes, I am going to say Arbor Day.
Okay.
The big Arbor Day episode that we're recording during Halloween.
Arbor Day. Oh, fuck. Look, I don't put out a themed episode for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween, but goddamn, I'm not going to miss Arbor Day.
Oh man, you're a real Arbor head.
And I know our listeners are too, but what I was actually going for there, sir, is I was teeing you up real nice for Halloween.
Yes.
I even introed the show not on a Arbor Day song, but Halloween, a Halloween themed song.
Day. Are you a big Halloween fan?
I don't care so much about the actual day itself. Like trick-or-treating, I stopped trick-or-treating pretty young. And now that I'm an adult, I'll just buy candy whenever the fuck I want. And I don't really like dressing up. But, so no, I don't like Halloween. But I like Halloween season. I like the fall. Mm-hmm. I like the spooky movies and all that stuff.
So I was going to say maybe you're more of a Thanksgiving kind of guy if you just like the season but none of the nasty stuff.
I don't like any holiday. I don't like anything.
Well, except Arbor Day.
Except Arbor Day.
The one thing.
I'm very passionate about Arbor Day.
It's Ardor Day for you. That means passionate.
Okay. We're off the rails big time. I'm trying to tell you that we're talking about Halloween and candy today, mostly Halloween. They go hand in hand. But Daniel, let me ask you, what is your stance and opinion and habits around Halloween-themed movies, cinema?
I love.
You like it? Is there movies you watch to kind of get you in the mood?
Yeah, we definitely, for the few weeks leading up to Halloween, try to watch as many scary movies as possible. Scary,
Me
in
too.
quotes.
And yeah, so many of us do that. And that means you're probably going to do okay today, because today you're guessing the top 10 most watched movies during Halloween season.
Okay.
So you got horror movies, but you also have movies that take place on Halloween, like a Halloween themed film. So some of them are family friendly, some of them are scary. You got a real mix here.
Okay. I'm already jotting down notes of what I could possibly throw into this mix.
This mix comes from cordcuttersnews.com, Screen Rant, Box Office Mojo, IMDb, and some help from Wikipedia. So the list itself, how do you determine the most watched Halloween movies, right? As often as I can on this show, I like to use hard data, not just opinions. There's exceptions, but for the most time, I try to find data-backed lists, and I found one. These are the top 10 most watched movies during the week of Halloween over the last 5 years, as of 2020, from video streaming service Vudu.
Okay, well, perfect.
Vudu's on the tip of your tongue.
This is the only website I visit during the month of October. Any website that has a /Vudu in their URL.
I know you're a practitioner of voodoo magic.
Very much so. Devoutly.
Arbor Day and voodoo.
Arbor Day and voodoo. They
Whatever
go
their holiday is.
They go claw and claw or tree branch and at chicken foot. I don't know.
Stop. Vudu. Most of us have probably heard Vudu. Some of us have used it. Vudu is an American digital video store and streaming service owned by Fandango, and it's been owned at various times by NBC, Warner Brothers, and Walmart. Walmart sold it to Fandango.
Good for Fandango.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vudu is available in more than 75 million households, 60 million registered users. It's streaming, but I might be wrong, but I think it's exclusively purchase. Like you purchase movies to rent and own. It's not like a Netflix or something where there's just free streaming options,
No, I think I have a Vudu button built into my Roku remote that I have never dared press. I don't know where it's going to lead me.
Well, it's going to lead you to Vudu, Daniel.
Well, that's true.
It tells you on the button.
What the other ones say, hell, salvation. This is my Roku remote.
Hell and salvation. Well, you want to hit salvation.
Oh,
you don't want to hit hell.
That's my big mistake. I keep pressing Netflix. That's the fourth option.
Well, here in hell, we're using Vudu. The reason I'm telling you about Vudu is because they released the movies purchased on their platform over a 5-year period during the week of Halloween that are watched most often.
Okay.
They purchased the top 10 of that.
Oof.
And while not everyone uses Vudu, it's a great sample size, gives us great insight to probably what general Halloween watching habits are, regardless of streaming service. So,
as goes Vudu, so goes the rest of the country.
Yeah. Did you pull that out of Biden's last presidential speech?
Yeah.
2 more things before I turn you loose. While we've done horror-based lists in the past, I encourage you, listener, to look through our archives. We've done a lot of horror movie lists. This list is not exclusively horror. It has some horror on it, but there's also movies from any genre that get people in the mood for Halloween. Okay? There's one last big caveat that I have not revealed to you yet. For every one of these movies, you, Mr. Candy expert, you couldn't shut the fuck up earlier about how much you love candy, how much you know about candy, you shove candy up your ass, you can't get enough candy, you rub it all over your body. All of that to say, you are going to pair each movie with a candy.
Oof.
And I'm not going to tell you how or what. You interpret that how you will. It's up to you to determine how a candy gets paired with a movie, and you can only pair one candy per movie.
Oh my God. See, because what was first throwing me was you saying it's not necessarily a horror movie.
Well, think about it. If it's Halloween themed, no matter what the movie is, there's some element of horror. Like there's a spooky ghost somewhere, right? In the movie, even if it's a costume. So I guess you could call it like family horror. And I don't mean like a family triple homicide or something. I mean a movie that a family might watch together during the week of Halloween.
A movie a family can get murdered to together.
Correct. But it's better doing that together than whatever it is you do with candy to your body.
Right, well.
So remember that. Using your own judgment and interpretation, Daniel, which candy is the best movie mate for each movie on the list, okay?
Okay. Now, what about variations on a single type of candy?
What's an example of that?
Like, say, a Reese's that's in the shape of different things. Like, say, a Reese's.
You can't fucking do that.
Come on.
You gotta just do like like Reese's, that's a candy. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is a candy.
Can I pick, though, a certain shape of a Reese's and that counts as all Reese's products?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. God.
Hey.
Anything else? Your honor?
Now, is this under oath? Because I don't want this held against me in the future.
Absolutely. In fact, this is live streaming to your employer, your family, your extended family, and anyone else you wouldn't want to see.
Who are all tied up like a movie I may or may not be mentioning in this list.
Exactly. Some of these are your cult classic Halloween movies. Probably everyone listening has seen them. Okay.
Right.
But there are 2 or 3 curveballs. They're definitely horror movies, but they're a sign of the times. Remember, this list is pulling data from the years 2015 to 2020. So there's 2 or 3 movies that came out specifically in that time frame that are not timeless. They're like timely to that time frame.
Oh, man. Okay. My God. See, you talk about me.
But we can save those for later.
All right.
Do you have a guess for what's not on the list?
I mean, I'm going to say any of those like Italian giallo, like, you know, I'm going to guess like these. Oh, you know what? Okay. I just thought of one.
Well, go ahead and spit it out then.
Do you want this as one of my official guesses?
Sure.
I'm going to go completely out of order. I'm going to say that this one on the list is maybe number. Oh, God. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to put it at 10.
Bold.
I am going to say that Dracula, the original Bela Lugosi Dracula.
Daniel, I respect you as a podcaster. I appreciate your deep friendship. But how many people in the year 2023 do you think are watching 1930-something Dracula?
Hey, you said between the years 2015 and 2020. That was a different time.
That's true.
That was much closer to the year 1930.
We were all different people back then. Dracula, there's nothing that classic on this list.
Okay, that's good to know. Let me start this list from scratch then.
This time, try to give a competent, reasonable guess that even an insane person might give. Not my great-grandfather trying to guess this list.
Is this podcast not going out exclusively to the motion picture retirement home?
Senior living centers across the world are being punished by this. Do you remember do you ever watch The Office?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, there's a scene I don't know, it was late season when Pam's grandmother is a crotchety old lady and the movie Bruno was on in her hotel room and she couldn't turn it off. And she was talking about how the movie happened to her. And that's what our podcast is doing in this live stream.
I've read the reviews. Why won't this stop happening to me? 5 stars.
And you too, listener, can rate us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice.
Yeah.
And please do.
Yeah, and that activates the robots controlling their hands. You also have them tied up too. Okay, so nothing.
So you were about to give another guess that wasn't fucking stupid. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to say that this is number 10 is going to be Friday the 13th.
Excellent. See, now you're getting closer. You're still not right.
Am I
But
not
you're
even
getting
on
closer.
the list yet?
So you're guessing the top 10. I do have the top 20 in front of me. Friday the 13th is not in the top 20.
But is it in the top 10?
No. Daniel,
There's
something wrong.
not going great. You know, because I'm trying to save the ones that I know are definitely going to be on the list, but I know they're going to be higher on the list. But I feel like I should just knock those out then, so I don't keep making a fool of myself.
Number 9 is close to Friday the 13th.
Close to Friday the 13th. Is it Friday the 13th part 2?
Okay, I'm getting really close to ending the call.
If number 9 is close to Friday the 13th, it has to be A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You're in the arena still, but not that.
Okay, I'm in the arena. You know what? I'm going to number 1, but
Okay.
I think number 1 is going to be then because I need to get my confidence back in this. I'm going to say that number 1 is Halloween.
The original, right?
The original Halloween.
Would it surprise you to know, Daniel, that the original Halloween from 1978 is number 20 in the top 20?
Do I not know any movies then that people watch for Halloween?
But the 2018 reboot of Halloween. Remember I told you there was some timely movies in here.
Right.
This came out right in the middle of this 5-year window, and it was a huge hit. The 2018 Halloween is number 9 on the top 10.
Okay, I am going to have to put myself in a completely different mindset then.
Yeah.
I have a candy to go with that, though.
Yeah, I need you to hold that. Hold it.
Yeah, okay.
Hold it. Okay. Because I want you to have some time to put some thought into it. I'm going to read you some notes, and we'll do your candy at the end. Okay?
Okay.
Halloween, you eager beaver, came out in 2018. It grossed $260 million at the box office. Think of how much candy you could buy with that, Daniel.
Oh, I do.
It would all be Bunch of Crunch.
The perfect movie candy.
The plot follows a post-traumatic Laurie Strode who prepares to face Michael Myers in a final showdown on Halloween night 40 years after he survived his killing spree. This is actually a sequel to the 1978 Halloween, ignoring all the 70s, 80s, 90s sequels, which is interesting. They call that a requel.
Right. Ooh.
Okay.
Thank you for saying that, actually, because that gave me another guess.
Yeah. So here's some fun facts, some hashtag Nick's notes, if you will. The actor that portrayed Michael Myers was the same in this 2018 movie as in the 1978 original. His name is Nick Castle.
You know what was confusing to me about this requel that came out in 2018 is why the leather mask also aged.
Wasn't it just like worn from like years of, it was weathered, right? It wasn't.
But does that happen to a plastic William Shatner mask?
I don't think William Shatner, I think his face has aged. I don't think the mask ages.
So this is like the mask of Dorian Gray.
Dorian Gray, who's that again?
The is it Oscar Wilde? The book from a long time ago where the guy has a portrait done of himself and he never ages, but the painting ages.
Okay, nerd alert. But what I was going to say is on Halloween, you imagine if they came out with this 2018 reboot and the filmmakers said, okay, we got to be fresh. We can't do the same old thing. We got to put a new spin on Michael. And they put him in just the Jason Friday the 13th mask. And everything's the same as the movie in Halloween, except he's in the Freddy mask. Not Freddy, I keep saying that. The Jason mask.
The Jason mask. That would be a stroke of meta synergy that Hollywood would not be prepared for.
I would love it.
I think that would be like the trumpeting that signals the end of the world is the day that Michael Myers puts on a Jason Voorhees mask. We know that we're not long for this world.
No, and good riddance. That means if we hear that trumpet, that means Daniel's pressed the button on his Roku remote.
So first I press Roku, I see that happen in a movie, and I say, well, it's time, and I press. We'll see if I press hell or salvation.
Or Vudu.
Or Vudu.
The Vudu button's the one that triggers it.
Yeah.
All right.
The 4 Roku buttons of the apocalypse.
Let me tell you a little more about Halloween. The film received generally positive reviews. It is the second highest grossing slasher film ever in unadjusted dollars, breaking a record previously set by Scream in 1996. The film had 2 sequels, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Neither of them were anywhere near as good as this one. Movies such as Candyman, Scream, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all from 2021 and 2022, are frequently cited as taking inspiration of the film's approach to rebooting a horror franchise known as a requel or legacy sequel or soft reboot.
Right.
Do you prefer Michael to Jason?
I've seen more Michael movies because I've only seen the first Jason movie, and technically Jason isn't even in it, as you find out. Well, I guess at the very end. Spoiler alert for 40 years ago. Yeah, I just ruined your Halloween plans.
Yeah, but he doesn't put the mask on, I think, till the second movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It's his mom. Well, again, I'm spoiling it again.
God damn, Daniel. Can you just stop? All right, we're moving on from this because you can't stop. Do you want to tell us the ending?
Do you want to hear my candy? Yeah.
Yeah, candy.
Yeah, you want to hear first off, let me tell you the ending of Citizen Kane.
No, nobody
is
cares.
Number 10 on my list.
Nobody cares. Nobody's actually seen that movie. Nobody born after 1970 has actually seen Citizen Kane. They like to just say they've seen it, and it's the greatest movie ever.
Well, Your audience that's being forced to listen right now, clearly, they lived it.
It's true. They're screaming in that nursing home. How do we make it stop? I wish Michael Myers would come and kill me. Daniel, which festive-shaped Reese's cup did you choose to pair with Halloween?
Since the pumpkin is a big factor in the opening credits of the Halloween movies, I'm going to say you eat a Reese's pumpkin with this movie.
I appreciate the logic, but beware, dear sidekick host, because you are now out of Reese's for the rest of the list. And that's a big one to just give away right off the bat.
It is, but I mean, like, E.T. isn't going to be on this list, and that's a movie you pair with Reese's Pieces. Oh my God, is E.T. on this list?
No, I wish it was.
That's top 10 movies featuring Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, that's probably number one.
I'm going to move on. So I'm going to say that number 2 is Hocus Pocus.
Are you sure you want to say that? Okay. Hocus Pocus is number 1. You were close.
You know, I have never been that close. This is the first guess that I have actually guessed on this list, so I'm going to take that as a direct hit for me.
You're right, because I gave you Halloween.
Yeah, you did give me Halloween.
So this is your 1 out of like 12 guesses so far. That's great. You're on a roll. So think about which candy.
Right.
I'm going to tell you that Hocus Pocus is number 1. It was released in 93, and it only grossed $45 million at the box office. That's the lowest box office gross in the top 10. Interesting, since this is such a famous movie. It follows a villainous comedic trio of witches, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Nahami, listener of the show.
Najimy?
Is that it? Najimy?
I think it's Najimy.
Okay.
That's how I've always pronounced it in my head.
Do you pronounce that name a lot in your head? Because I don't know if I've ever even thought of that name in my life until now.
That's the name I use to calm down when I'm a little freaked out. I just repeat Kathy Najimy. Najimy.
Because I go, Daniel Zafran. Daniel.
Your generation's Kathy Najimy.
Yeah. Anyway, this comedic trio of witches are inadvertently resurrected by a teenage boy, Omri Katz, that's the actor, in Salem, Massachusetts on Halloween night. Daniel, do you like this movie?
You know, I only saw this movie maybe in the time frame that we're talking about between 2015 and 2020, because I never saw it growing up, obviously, if I just saw it in the last, 5 years. I'm 7 years old.
I was about to say, Daniel, it's a good time to let the people know he's 8 years old.
But my wife was one of the people who grew up watching it, so we watched it together. And it was surprisingly, it has a lot of like the humor that's in a lot of 80s children's movie. Like a big running joke in the movie is this guy being worried people think he's a virgin.
Yeah.
And this is a movie for children. And I think the last line in the movie...
he's like in 11th grade or something, which is like...
Right.
Yeah.
And the last line in the movie, again, I'm going to spoil every movie on this list.
Wow.
But I think he like walks off into the sunset and says like, well, at least I'm still a virgin or something like that.
Walks off into the sunset talking about your virginity. You don't do that? You've never done that?
Well, that's part of the Roku apocalypse.
And you lose your virginity, that's when the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, I mean, you've got a few more years, but,
yeah,
I'm close.
Yeah. Your wife she brought you to Hocus Pocus. Maybe she can help you with that too. But
yeah, this movie's for you.
So, upon its release, the film received mixed reviews from critics and was not a box office success, possibly losing Disney around $17 million during its theatrical run. However, largely through many annual airings on Disney Channel and ABC Family, Fox Family, and the Family Channel, all throughout the month of October, Hocus Pocus has been rediscovered by audiences, resulting in a yearly spike in home media sales in the film every Halloween. It's interesting how a movie can, bomb's a strong word, but pretty much bombed when it came out, and then over time it becomes beloved.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for in my lifetime, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Van Gogh.
True.
And is Hocus Pocus not the Van Gogh of the early 90s? Virginity loss movies.
Yeah. Listen to this. The role of Max Dennison, that's the main kid in the movie, the virgin, as we all, he's a virgin? And he's 16?
He just got his driver's.
I know. It's like...
He can vote and he's a virgin?
And it's a Disney movie of all things, too.
I know.
It's weird.
It's kind of a shame that that sort of thing isn't in Disney movies anymore.
Yeah. I was really hoping to hear about that in the Elemental movie that came out. I wanted to hear about how the fucking water guy was a virgin and the fire girl was a sex fiend. That's the main thing that kept them, their differences.
The fifth element is horniness.
And isn't it always? Okay, but what I was going to tell you is this virgin, Max Dennison, the actor, what I say his name was, Omri Katz, who hasn't done fuck all since, as far as I know. But he was originally supposed to be played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh.
But he turned it down because he was going to be in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, was released the same year.
Nobody would buy that he was a virgin.
It's true.
This underage kid? No way.
And now Leo, coming up on 50, only dates exclusively 16-year-old virgins. Am I right? Maybe that guy's, I don't know what. Hang on, let's look his ass up.
You think he's still a virgin? Look him up on IMDb.
IMDb, database of virgins. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, this guy, Omri Katz, he's 47, which means in 93, he was about 17 at the time.
Old to be a virgin.
The last thing he did in film was 2002, Journey into Night, a short film. He hasn't done anything since 2002. But he is reported to stay in touch with his Hocus Pocus co-stars. And as of 2022, he operates a cannabis company.
Oh, yeah. This guy's a virgin.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, a sequel came out last year, Disney Plus. It's the most viewed film in Disney Plus history.
Really?
And a third film is also planned.
Okay. I did watch that one.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I mean, like, I didn't have the nostalgia attachment I did for the original, so I wasn't like, how dare they do this to my beloveds?
How dare they?
I was okay with what happened in that movie.
Yeah.
Not enough virginity talk, but
yeah,
it's okay.
Well, I thought the Bette Midler sex scene was very daring, very bold for a Disney Plus original. But, it's time these kids
and brave of her.
Brave of her, too.
Brave of her to do that in front of all the children while also holding a broomstick.
Especially a lesbian sex scene. Like, I thought she was really taking a stance there in the conversation.
Woke Disney these days. I'm okay with the full frontal pornography.
On Disney
But
Plus.
as long as it's between a witch and a zombie.
Exactly. I think wasn't the zombie in the second one too? The guy?
He was. That is Doug Jones, actually.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah. Listener of the show.
Also a virgin.
Yeah.
So my candy for this one, it takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. It's a very fall movie. I think they even made a big point of these in the sequel. I'm going to say one of those caramel apple lollipops.
Yeah, great choice. Great choice.
That's what you eat for that one.
I feel like that had to be in the movie somewhere. One of those.
I know there were definite caramel apples, but I'm not going to, is that a candy? I don't know, but the lollipop version is.
The lollipop version is an actual apple on a stick covered in caramel. If someone tells me that's a candy, they can fucking unsubscribe because it's not. It's a fruit on a stick.
Then what is a chocolate covered strawberry if not candy?
It's not candy. It's a strawberry covered in chocolate. It's a dessert. God damn. You should know this shit.
But this is the sort of debate. I'm very, I'll say gum is candy if it'll give me content to review on our podcast.
All right. You're a madman.
And that's really what I go by.
I'm drawing the line.
I'm going to once again try number 2 because I think if Hocus Pocus is number 1, I think I'm going to say that number 2 is A Nightmare Before Christmas.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh, man. Okay. My confidence, it's back.
We'll crush it in due time. This was the source of the opening lyrics I sang, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Also came out from Disney and also in 1993, but it did better at the box office with $92 million. And this is a stop-motion animated musical dark fantasy film directed by Henry Selick and produced and conceived by Tim Burton. It tells the story of Jack Skellington, the king of Halloween Town, who stumbles upon Christmas Town and schemes to take over the holiday. Okay, so The Nightmare Before Christmas originated in a poem written by Tim Burton in 1982 when he was working as an animator at Walt Disney. Over the years, he kept returning to this project in his head, and finally in 1990, he signed a deal with Walt Disney. The production started in 1991. Disney initially released the film through Touchstone because the studio believed the film was too dark and scary for kids. And it is kind of dark for a kid's movie. I mean, you got spinning heads and shit,
if the kid's into that, it's exactly what they need.
Yeah. Agree. When you're right, you're right. Now listen to this shit. This movie is stop motion. I'm always fascinated by stop motion. There are 109,440 frames taken for the film. That means, if I'm understanding this right, there was a stop and a start of a camera 109,000 times to capture every single movement of these little tiny damn puppets. Who's got the patience for that shit?
Tim Burton. He's the only one we've got.
Yeah.
The man is a saint. But this movie has confused so many people who think that Tim Burton actually directed it.
You're right. You're right.
And it's a little disappointing that he didn't. I mean, I guess, it is his creation, but for him not to be directing it and for the guy who actually did to just be completely forgotten by history is a little bit sad.
Dude, you are hitting on an exact theme because this is going to happen again on this list. There's a hint for you. But about those 109,000 frames, there were 227 puppets to represent the movie, with Jack Skellington himself having around 400 heads to capture every possible emotion. Daniel, how many heads do you have?
I mean, nowhere above 3,000.
Oh, really? Okay, man, I'm still less than 1,000. I got some catching up to do.
You do. Listen, when you've got as much virginity as I do, you got a lot of time to make new heads.
To make new heads, yeah. And make new emotions for those heads.
Yeah.
The stop motion figurine of Jack was reused in James and the Giant Peach. Also directed by Henry Selick, and this was for the Captain Jack character. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Or forgotten.
Is he a skeleton?
I don't remember. It just said that the same figure used for Jack was used as Captain Jack in James and the Giant Peach.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Is a giant peach a candy?
I don't know. Is this fucking keyboard sitting in front of me candy? I mean, it's just as much candy as a peach.
That's a good point, but when something gets big enough, it could very well be candy.
When something gets big enough, it could be candy. Well, I won't let you looking down in my pants then. It's getting bigger during this recording.
Happy Halloween. Trick or treat.
No, happy Arbor Day.
Happy Arbor Day to me.
This movie was nominated for Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, which was a first for an animated film, but lost to Jurassic Park. Man, 93 was a big year for movies, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear your candy choice. And if you say peach, I'll literally jump out a window.
chocolate covered. Let's see. What fruit do I have in my refrigerator? I'm going to say for this one's a divisive one, but it's something that you can kind of, there's a lot of bones. The main character's made out of bones. So this is something
we're all made out of bones, Daniel.
You know what? Then I retract my statement because this won't make sense anymore. I'm going to say that this one is going to be Smarties, because when you crunch down on them, it's kind of like you're chewing bones.
And you know this how? Do you typically chew bones for Arbor Day?
I mean, it's part of the Vudu subscription plan. Yeah. You do get a monthly box of chewable bones sent to you.
Smarties.
I mean,
not a fan of Smarties, by the way.
I'm one of the few people who does like Smarties, but I have met very few like me.
Yeah, you'd say that again in a lot of respects. All right, so far you've got number 9, 2018 is Halloween. You have number 2, Nightmare Before Christmas, and number 1, Hocus Pocus.
Okay, so if we're going back to thinking about that time frame that we're talking about, I'm going to put this next one at number 7. I'm going to say The Conjuring.
Great guess. Not in the top 10.
Okay. Now I have to go down my list of the Conjuring universe.
One by one? Okay. How much time you got left? I'm going to block out the rest of my day here for this. Let's go back to Tim Burton. He's on this list again.
Okay. Tim Burton. All right. So I'm going to put Frankenweenie at...
Are you serious?
I'm trying to think of another...
You said it so earnestly, like it was a real guess. I thought you were joking until I realized you weren't. Frankenweenie.
I'm trying to think of another Halloween Tim Burton movie.
Oh, there's only 100 to choose from. But, I think if you were to survey a random group of 100 people anywhere in the world and say, have you heard of Frankenweenie or do you remember Frankenweenie, you might get 8% that say yes. And here you are thinking it's like the 3rd most watched Halloween movie of all time.
We don't just all sit around on Halloween watching Frankenweenie eating Smarties? Is this not something people do?
No.
Okay, another Tim Burton movie that would be good for Halloween.
It's a very obvious one.
Obvious one. Oh my God, why am I blanking on Tim Burton movies?
Because you're not good at this list. You're not good at guessing.
I am very bad at this list. Let me come back to Tim Burton and guess that number 8 is The Nun.
No, that's not a bad guess. I only laugh because I could feel in your voice the desperation. It's not It's not in the top 10 or 20.
My God. Okay, let me
There's
put
a movie
Annabelle
from
as
the
number
same
8.
year, though. A movie released the same year as The Nun, which is 2018. This was a very critically acclaimed horror film.
Critically acclaimed movie. Is it Hereditary?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm still going to put that at number 8.
It is number 8. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm good.
You're making a comeback. Now, Hereditary is a very good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And on a top 10 list of like the best horror films over the last 10 years, I could see it being on there. I'm a little surprised it's on this list, though.
It is not a movie I'd ever want to rewatch.
Because you didn't like it or because it was too disturbing or what?
It's a very upsetting movie. I can't see myself, like when I'm watching Halloween movies, I kind of want to watch like this is fun rather than this is real world trauma that becomes supernatural. Spoiler alert again.
Yeah. We're going to talk about trauma here in a second with a really funny note.
Thank you.
Number 8, Hereditary. Came out in 2018, $83 million. It's the critically acclaimed horror film written and directed by Ari Aster in his featured directorial debut. He's done other stuff since then, like Midsommar. Midsommar, by the way, is number 12 on the list.
Okay.
So Hereditary, the film follows a grieving family tormented by a demonic entity after the death of their secretive grandmother. Ari Aster said that during filming, Alex Wolff, which is like the main male actor, the kid in the movie, Alex Wolff told me not to say the name of William Shakespeare's Scottish play out loud because of some superstitious theater legend. I smugly announced the name, and then one of our lights burst during the shooting of the following scene. So what do you have to say about that, you fucking skeptic?
I will never doubt William Shakespeare's otherworldly power again.
Mm-hmm. Prior to release, the trailer for Hereditary played on accident before a PG-rated family film, Peter Rabbit, in a cinema in Western Australia. According to a report in the Sydney Morning Herald, the Hereditary preview was accidentally shown to family audiences and created a small panic in the theater because there were at least 40 children in the theater having this trailer happen to them, much in the same way this podcast is now happening to those people in the senior citizen homes.
I mean, kids in Australia are much tougher. This actually, one time in college, they used to screen movies in the theater and they were showing The Brave Little Toaster, which I love, and which is going to be number 10 on this list. But I went to go see it because I was like, oh, I haven't seen The Brave Little Toaster since I was a little boy.
Great movie.
It's great. And I went there and I was like, well, there's really nobody here. And unbeknownst to me, they had canceled that screening to show Manhunter, which is the original movie adaptation of The Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
And it was...
You're like, where's the toaster? Where's the fucking heating blanket? Where's the lamp?
More like an eating blanket in that movie. Yeah.
Am I right?
That night, I had to be the brave little toaster to sit through that. And I was.
That's poetic.
Yeah. William Shakespeare once said that.
Yeah. And then he plowed some stable boy in the next town.
He said, I am no longer a virgin.
Which is fine. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay. Candy pairing for Hereditary, the depressing, traumatic Hereditary.
So this one, I'm going to say Pez because you pop the head off of the dispenser to eat the candy.
Oh my God. Spoiler alert again.
Spoiler alert again.
That's good, though. That's good. So far, you've had a very good... See, I knew you would. I knew you'd have these good answers for this candy.
For the candy, yes. For the movies, no.
Absolutely. Well, you got 2 right on the money. You got Hereditary number 8 and Nightmare Before Christmas.
I got
Nightmare
Nightmare Before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And everything else is way off the mark.
What else you got?
Can I just name a few Tim Burton movies just to see if I hit it? Edward Scissorhands?
Good guess, but no. I do. That actually is a good guess. Not on here.
Ed Wood?
Is that a real movie?
Yeah, Ed Wood about the Bat Director.
No.
Oh my God. Alice in Wonderland?
No.
Dumbo?
No.
What am I missing here? It's Big Fish?
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break from the list for a minute because I'm going to read you some listener responses. And the Tim Burton movie in question is included in these responses. See if you can pick it out.
Okay.
So I asked my followers on I was about to say Twitter, but it's fucking X now, stupidly. I asked my followers on X and on Instagram, you can follow me at the Nick Emel. I said, what is the movie you watch every year to get you in the Halloween spirit? Irving from Instagram says It. Cliche, I know, but also Drag Me to Hell. Have you seen Drag Me to Hell?
I actually watched that last year.
Super underrated.
It is a very gross movie. It's very gross.
I didn't ask you if it was gross or not. Any spoilers you want to give away real quick?
Underrated. Yeah. I was about to say the scene where, but I'll stop myself.
It's good. All right. Take on the Academy on Instagram said Alien is always the kickoff for us.
I was thinking Alien, but that debate of whether or not it's horror or sci-fi is too hot for me to put my hands on.
I think it's both. So it's not too hot for you to say that a fucking apple is candy, but too hot for you to say Alien, which is a horror movie, is a horror movie. Okay. Alicia and Sierra on Twitter, they've been on this show before, so shout out to them. They said Practical Magic.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
It's a chick movie. Shelly on Instagram says Friday the 13th, which you incorrectly guessed earlier. Walk, another Sidekick host, he said on Instagram, any old slasher films, so Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Chucky, which you have not said yet, but not on the list.
Okay.
Dr. Shiloh says Halloween, E.T.,
hello, Dr. Shiloh.
and The Exorcist. Yeah, you know Dr. Shiloh.
I do know Dr. Shiloh. She said E.T.?
Well, you got a problem with E.T.? She's a doctor, you know.
She's not a doctor of spooky. That is, okay. I mean, it does take place on Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the problem?
So that's the, but so is E.T., because you already told me E.T. wasn't on this list, right?
Not.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'm still getting to the one that you're looking for.
Uh-huh.
Crime Ghoul on Twitter said Cabin Fever, Nightmare on Elm Street, and When a Stranger Calls. We did have Ashley on Instagram give a shout out to the original Halloween. And the last one I'll read is Squid Sister 2 on Instagram. Beetlejuice. How dumb do you feel now?
So it's trying to think of one other really bad Tim Burton guess that it could possibly be, but now I've run out of Tim Burton movies. So it's not the original short film of Frankenweenie?
No, it's Coraline, which actually Coraline's probably a good guess. Better than Frankenweenie. Beetlejuice is, what number do you think it is?
I'm going to put Beetlejuice at 7 then.
3, idiot.
What?
Number 3 is Beetlejuice. You got a real problem with Beetlejuice. What's the deal?
I mean, we've said it too many times. That's my problem with it.
You're right.
But I guess voodoo lovers love Beetlejuice because that doesn't strike me as something people watch a lot anymore, except for, politicians going to see the live show.
Timely.
A reference that
Timely.
will be... Yeah. Well, now that the writer's
strike... just happened 6 weeks ago, right? Not just recently? Yeah.
I'm working on my packet for Jimmy Fallon because he seems... everything I've heard, he sounds great to work for.
Yeah. Another listener of the show. Okay, Beetlejuice number 3 came out in 1988. It grossed 75 mil at the box office. It is an award-winning fantasy horror comedy film directed by Tim Burton. The plot revolves around a recently deceased couple who, as ghosts haunting their former home, contact Beetlejuice, an obnoxious and devious bioexorcist from the netherworld, to scare away the home's new inhabitants. Growing up, I always thought Beetlejuice was like a take on some other media. I didn't realize it was the original idea was in this movie. You know what I'm trying to say? I always thought like it was like a comic
you thought
or
that
something.
There was...
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying like there was some historical figure that Beetlejuice was based on.
That would be news to me.
Yeah. FDR.
No. Beetlejuice can walk. Okay. The Beetlejuice budget was $15 million and only $1 million was given over to visual effects work. Think about that. $1 million for visual effects in Beetlejuice. Considering the scale and scope of the effects, which included stop motion, replacement animation, and prosthetic makeup, puppetry, and blue screen, all that and under $1 million, Tim Burton then intended to make the style similar to B movies he grew up with as a child. Quote, I wanted to make them look cheap and purposely fake looking. Which I think, if that's your budget, why not? Like, go all in on that.
I think it looks pretty good. I mean, there's some parts where he lives in like a model of the town, so that right there is meant to look fake.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, oh, well, okay. Now I'm thinking of them when they pull their mouths apart or their heads open.
Dude, that scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like it's supposed to be funny and like ridiculous, but for a kid, that really fucked me up.
I felt the same way about the scene in Hereditary. I was like, I know this is supposed to be funny, but this is really disturbing to
when
me.
the Pez dispenser head comes off. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Poor Tweety Bird.
Did you know, this is a random trivia here. On March 10th, 1998, Beetlejuice became the first DVD shipped by Netflix ever.
Really?
For their mail-based rental business was for Beetlejuice.
The world was that's the market was it was such a void. We need a place where we can rent Beetlejuice.
10 years later. Like you'd think it'd be some new release or something, but no. Okay, and so obviously there's animated TV series, video games, and a 2018 stage musical where you can find your local politician fondling someone from another political party.
Yeah.
And there is a sequel planned for 2024.
I'm excited about that.
Sure.
I can't wait to see Alec Baldwin back in the big screen.
Yeah. What's your candy?
This one is such an obvious choice, but the candy for this one is a Zagnut. Isn't that the candy that Beetlejuice is trying to lure the fly over with? He's like, hey, you want a Zagnut?
Yeah, I can't even remember, but that sounds like it could be.
I don't really know what a Zagnut is, but I'm pretty sure that that's the candy he's luring the person with.
So what you're saying is this may or may not be a real candy, but you're going to use it for one of your choices.
I know it's a real candy. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
And I can say that about a lot of things. So
I know what sex is, but I'm still a virgin.
I know it's a real thing. I don't quite know what it is.
Done it. I've heard. I've been told that people have done it. I have not done it.
The absence of it wouldn't be discussed if it were not a thing.
Right.
So this next one I have to guess is kind of a stretch of what a movie is, but I am going to put this at number 4. I'm going to say The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Is that like a 30-minute movie? I don't remember.
It's like a TV special. I think it's 30 minutes, maybe 40 at most.
Well, it ain't on here. So pull that giant pumpkin out of your ass because it's not on here.
Okay.
These are all theatrical films.
See, this is the plot of It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Is a podcast guest being berated by a podcast host for guessing horror movies? Okay.
Oh, that's the requel of It's the Great Pumpkin. It's the Great Podcast, Daniel Zafran.
Starring Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Hi, listener. It's me, Alex Johns. If you're anything like me, you just can't wait to know the next episode topic of Tinish Podcast. It keeps us up at night. We toss and we turn, wondering, hoping, dreaming. Fortunately, I found a solution. It's the Tinish Podcast newsletter. Each month, I get this free newsletter delivered right to my inbox, and it tells me right there what the next month's worth of Tinish Podcast episodes will be all about. That means that me and the other newsletter subscribers knew today's episode topic about a month in advance. I have more good news. The newsletter also comes with Dr. Buster's exclusive blog, behind-the-scenes updates from Nick, discount codes on Tinish merch, and more. The best part is this monthly free newsletter can be yours too. Just go to tinishpod.com/newsletter, enter your email address, and you're in. It's that easy. Again, that's tinishpod.com/newsletter, or just click the link in the show notes. The only problem I have now is tossing and turning, waiting for the next Tinish Podcast newsletter.
Okay, so let's go with a classic one, but I'm going to have to say this classic one can't be further than number 10. So I'm going to say for number 10, The Shining.
Wow, you actually nailed it. Number 10 is The Shining. Wow, nice.
I'm back.
1980s, The Shining. 152 million at the box office. I've talked about The Shining in several past episodes. We've done Stephen King episodes and horror episodes, so if you want more, check those out. But at a high level, it's a psychological horror film directed and produced by Stanley Kubrick, where a family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from both the past and future. What's your take on The Shining, Daniel?
Oh, I love it. I am one of the people who are terrified of them. I remember watching it probably when I was like 13 for the first time, and my glasses were literally fogging up as I was watching the movie.
What does that mean? Your eyes were like breathing heavily because they were scared?
Yeah, I'm the Corinthian from the Sandman. That's it. I'm 8 years old and I'm also the Corinthian. But I must have had like a blanket or something on me because I was scared already, and the heat This has only happened 2 times. Well, it is when I've watched The Shining and when I have gotten into the again, spoiler alert, the last room on the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland when you go to hell, and my glasses immediately fog up.
When you go to hell, you'd press the Vudu remote button. There's a giant Vudu remote in every seat of the ride. Or a Roku.
It's like the Buzz Lightyear thing.
Yeah.
You know, that movie, I saw it at just the right time. And it is, you know, with a lot of Stanley Kubrick things, if you don't like dial into the pacing and the emotion of it, you can be like, this sucks. But if it grabs hold of you, it is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it is. The book's great too. When the film was released, reviews were mixed. It's obviously gotten more favorable over time, but Stephen King criticized the film due to its deviations from the novel. Here's a quote. He says, "Parts of the film are chilling, charged with a relentlessly claustrophobic terror, but others fall flat. Not that religion has to be involved in horror, but a visceral skeptic such as Kubrick just couldn't grasp the sheer inhuman evil of the Overlook Hotel. So he looked instead for evil in the characters and made the film into a domestic tragedy with only vaguely supernatural overtones. That was the basic flaw. It never gets you by the throat and hangs on you the way real horror should." Now, I get what he's saying in his criticism. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I get what he's saying, but I disagree. I think this movie is almost perfect for a horror film. Yes, it deviates a lot from the novel. The novel is great and the movie are great and they're different, and that's okay.
Usually when Stephen King criticizes a movie version of one of his books, I know it's going to be good.
Yeah. The opposite's also been true. He's spoken highly of stuff before that I saw and I just didn't like.
Yeah, if he says this is exactly what I wanted, that is exactly what I don't want from a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, he's a particularly hard writer to adapt for because his books are, some of them, it doesn't translate well from page to screen.
And especially the endings are usually bad in most of his books and movies. So I'm glad that things changed for The Shining.
Yeah. The Shining is great. Critical response to the film became more favorable over time, and it is now regarded as one of the greatest horror films ever and a staple of pop culture. Daniel, which candy would you pair while killing your family in an isolated Colorado hotel?
You know, when I like to curl up next to the fire that's talking to me, I like to have, I don't know what exactly these are called, but you know those like slime candies where you like push the thing up and like a slime comes out and you sort of suck it out of a little sort of almost like a syringe, but not quite. It may be called toxic waste.
Vaguely. I vaguely know what you're talking about. But why? Why are we doing that?
I'm going to say that, but a red one of those because of all the blood in the movie.
Okay.
The blood pouring out of the elevator.
Why not
so
just
I don't know what those are called.
Licorice or something, Twizzlers or something. So we're going to call it red toxic waste.
Red toxic waste. I think that's what they're called.
Those things are, I think I actually know what you're talking about, and they're fucking gross.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eat that. I would just recommend it to other people.
Yeah, that's your whole podcast. Okay. You just need 7, 6, 5, and 4.
So I'm going to, again, pick another classic, but I don't think this one, again, can be that high. So for number 7, I'm going to say The Exorcist.
I'm really surprised that The Exorcist is not on here, but it is not on the top 10. Let me help you. You have one that's a classic, kind of in the same time frame as like Halloween, Friday the 13th. You have one that's 2018, same year as Hereditary. You have one that's 2000s and kind of a newer cult classic. And then you have a 90s family friendly.
Well, I'm going to say that number 5 is Paranormal Activity.
No. That's a good guess.
This is unbelievable. Is it Insidious, that number 5?
No.
This is humiliating, isn't it?
For you? Yeah.
No, I feel fine. This is embarrassing you, right? I'm still stuck on number 5. I'm going to say number 5 is Scream.
Nope.
Oh my God. Number 5 is It.
No, but the 2017 version of It is number 15.
Oh, okay.
Number 5, you need to be quiet when you talk about it. Shh.
Okay, really? So A Quiet Place is number 5 on this list.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's very strange to me.
This is one of those, like, family-friendly horror movies, for lack of a better word. It's like a mainstream blockbuster, but also a horror movie, right? Kind of like I put like World War Z in the same category. It's got like a mainstream
Right.
actor, several mainstream actors, and it's like it was a hit, right? It's not like under the radar horror. It's like a mainstream movie. 341 million at the box office when it came out in 2018. Plot revolves around a father, Jim Halpert, and a mother, Emily Blunt, who struggle to survive and raise their children in a post-apocalyptic world inhabited by blind extraterrestrial creatures with an acute sense of hearing.
This was a direct sequel to The Office, right?
Yeah, right. I was surprised that Jim remarried, though. I didn't think he would do that to Pam.
Yeah, it was so sad. 12 seasons and a movie was their negotiation.
But they are married in real life. I'm sure you know. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Yes.
Krasinski identified, and he directed the movie too. I think he's a co-writer maybe as well. He identified the primary theme of the film as a dramatization of fears associated with modern parenthood. Krasinski told CBS News that the scares were secondary to how powerful this could be as an allegory or metaphor for parenthood. For me, this is all about parenthood.
Yeah, he's really hammering the parenthood theme.
Have you heard that he thought it was about parenthood?
I could have sworn it was about just being quiet.
Yeah, you've seen this movie?
I have seen this movie, and
I like
actually the prequel, I liked it too. I thought it was you know what? Oddly enough, that was the first movie I ever saw with Movie Pass when it came out or when it became popular. And so the theater, I think everyone had just gotten Movie Pass, and the theater was absolutely packed, and people were like cheering the movie. People were so excited about it.
You mean like when the movie started, or like when they killed the bad guys in the movie?
When it ended. We were so glad
Okay.
it was over.
Great. Do you remember the candy you had with you during the movie?
I think the perfect candy for A Quiet Place is a bunch of crunch, because you want to do just the opposite and attract all of the aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that one of the aliens, John Krasinski himself, played the creature in motion capture suit? Isn't that weird?
Is that true?
Yeah, for a few scenes, not the whole thing, but it said for a few scenes
All right.
he wore the suit for the motion capture. I don't know why.
This guy, he wanted to get a piece of all the action involved in the profits of this movie.
But they also gave...
He was also the children.
He was also the children. He was also every single person in the movie theater with you when you saw it.
Oh, no. That Jim is good.
Yeah. Okay, so production took place in upstate New York, and filmmakers spent their budget locally, including the purchase of 20 tons of corn, which they hired local farmers to grow, because, you know, there's corn all over their farm.
Right.
I thought that was interesting. You had a sequel, A Quiet Place Part 2, in 2021, which I thought was pretty good. And then a spin-off titled A Quiet Place Day 1, and a separate second sequel, A Quiet Place Part 3, are both scheduled to be released in 2024 and 2025, respectively. So we got a franchise on our hands, Daniel.
All right. Thank God we have another horror
We
franchise.
needed another one.
A Quiet Place 2 was the first movie I saw coming out of the lockdown. And the way that movie starts was so upsetting, having just gone through everything we had all just gone through.
Mhm.
That's all.
I just thought it was weird. The first scene in the movie, I was expecting some continuation of A Quiet Place, the original. But instead, there was just this man in glasses looking at his stapler and a thing of Jell-O. And I couldn't understand what they had to do with the aliens.
It was a weird
There's
choice.
some sort of office building. Yeah.
Yeah, when that guy came in and spilled all the chili, and it was supposed to be really scary, I thought that was a weird choice also.
Weird choice, but brave for everyone involved.
Brave.
So are you sticking Bunch of Crunch for this candy?
Yeah, Bunch of Crunch is my candy for that. Okay, so remind me again, give me the clues again that we have for the last three, just so this doesn't take 2 hours.
Yeah. We'll hit these next ones a little quicker. So we have number 6 is an early 80s horror classic. Number 7 is more modern, but it's kind of immediately slipped into cult classic phase, I'd say. And number 4 is a 90s movie produced by Steven Spielberg.
A 90s movie, children's 90s movie.
Oh, and it's a
produced by
family-friendly
Steven
movie.
Spielberg.
Yeah, number 4.
A family-friendly Steven Spielberg produced 90s movie.
Actually, the 80s classic is also Steven Spielberg produced.
Oh, okay. So the 80s classic is Poltergeist.
Poltergeist at number 6.
That is, what was that, number 6? Okay.
1982, 122 million. The film focuses on a suburban family whose home is invaded by malevolent ghosts and abduct their youngest daughter. Now, some interesting things. You were talking about this with think it was Tim Burton, how you were saying that everyone forgets the director,
Right.
whichever movie that was. I think it was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Same thing happened here because Steven Spielberg, he wanted to do this movie, but a clause in his contract with Universal would not let him do that Poltergeist at the same time he was preparing for E.T. So Spielberg produced it, and director Tobe Hooper, who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he came in, and according to him, the very core concept of the film was an idea he pitched to Spielberg after turning down the offer to direct Night Skies, which was some Spielberg project. E.T. and Poltergeist were actually released a week apart in June 1982. Time and Newsweek referred to it as the Spielberg Summer.
The hot Spielberg summer.
Yeah.
Finally.
There were suggestions that Spielberg, in addition to being Poltergeist's co-producer and co-writer, had also served as the de facto co-director. And I didn't include all this because it got kind of boring, but there's a lot of back and forth about how involved Spielberg really was in the day-to-day directing of this movie.
Did somebody die in that movie, or did the little girl died?
I don't think anybody died.
Not
I think
long.
the fish died. That's
Ever?
it.
Oh, that's too bad.
I actually watched it recently with my 8-year-old daughter who's fucking weirdo and loves horror movies. And
Does it hold up?
it was all right. It was all right. I wouldn't give it
Yeah.
any more than all right.
That's kind of weird that it's number 6, because I remember feeling the same way of like, I get why people don't talk about this movie that much, other than the one scene.
But did you know Spice Girls pays homage to the film in their 1997 music video for the song Too Much? There you go. I don't know how or why, but pulled that off Wikipedia.
Scary Spice is staring into a crackly television.
Yeah.
She turns around. It's time to dance.
And I think the music
I don't know
video
what this
finishes and they're in a giant pit of dead bodies floating up from their graves in the muddy water. Spoiler.
This girl group was built on an old burial ground.
So what's your candy for Poltergeist?
My candy for Poltergeist, to get back to the crackly TV set, I'm going to say crackles. The little fun-sized crackles. That's what you should eat.
I love crackles. They're like your poor man's Kit Kat, kind of. Or no, more like a Crunch Bar.
Crunch Bar. Yeah. I might hazard that they're better than a Crunch Bar even.
Well, you're right. That is a hazard to say that.
I don't want to get canceled on this show for saying that, but I do stand by that. And I won't apologize.
We'll be seeing a lot of crackles in the trick-or-treat bags next week.
Yeah. Okay, so number 7 is the
2000s.
late...
2009.
The 2000s modern classic. So I'm going to say the two... Oh, no, I think that's too late, though.
Comedy horror.
Oh. Shaun of the Dead?
No, I think that
Is
was
number
That was
7?
earlier than 09, I think. But no.
A comedy horror from 2009. Let's see. I was in college. What was funny about horror in college?
Double Tap.
Oh, Zombieland?
Zombieland is number 7.
Really? All right. This list was stacked against me because who would ever have guessed Zombieland was on this list?
I hear about Zombieland a lot. Now, I agree it shouldn't be on the top 10 list, but it's not like the most ridiculous thing. It's no less ridiculous than Wiener Dog. What's Halloween? Halloweener.
Frankenweenie? Halloweener is like the Walmart generic knockoff of Frankenweenie. Is it that outrageous? I mean, am I wrong for thinking Frankenweenie and Dracula should be on this list, but maybe Zombieland and A Quiet Place shouldn't be?
A Quiet Place, again, has the benefit of releasing in this time period. Zombieland came before the time period, so it's a little less explainable, but it has Bill Murray in it.
Right.
So there's that.
Right there boosts it past Dracula.
Yeah.
Our generation's Bela Lugosi.
Zombieland came out in 09. It grossed $104 million. In the film, a bunch of people make their way on an extended cross-country road trip to find a sanctuary free from zombies. Roger Ebert was surprised by Zombieland's ability to be significantly humorous, while zombies remain the focus of the film, and felt that, quote, all of this could have been dreary, but not here. The filmmakers show invention and well-tuned comic timing. He credited Bill Murray's cameo appearance as receiving the single biggest laugh of the year and gave the film 3 out of 4 stars. That scene with Bill Murray is the best scene in the movie, for sure.
It is funny. It's a good movie, but I mean, who's watching that movie now, though, in 2023?
Well, this was done in 2020.
Right. Yeah. We were so naive back then.
My last note is that Woody Harrelson delayed filming by a day because he was arrested for marijuana possession during filming the movie.
Of course. The constantly something not right is happening with Woody Harrelson.
Yes. Hell of an ass on him, though.
Look, I won't debate that.
What candy? I was going to say like a Twinkie would be good because that's like a plot point in the movie, but Twinkie's not a candy. And don't sit
That's
here
not
and
a
try
candy.
to tell
And
me it is.
also, I also didn't remember that that's in the movie. But speaking of double tap, I'm thinking of something that like goes like da. So I'm going to say Kit Kat, double tap.
Okay. As good a reason as any.
Yeah.
All right. That leaves number 4.
Number 4. Now, this is the one that is a 90s family-friendly, produced by Steven Spielberg movie. Is this, and I think I might be too late on this, but is this The Goonies?
You're way too late, and no.
Okay. Corpse Bride was later than that.
This was the first feature film to have a fully CGI character in the lead role.
The first feature, it's not
And it's not Frankenweenie.
The Phantom Menace.
Frankenweenie.
Well, Frankenweenie was CGI. Everyone else was live action around him. The first Casper?
Casper the Friendly Ghost, you son of a bitch.
Okay.
What's your problem with Casper?
Wow. Who's watching Casper every year?
Well, for the 5 years between 2015 and 2020, everyone in the world using Vudu.
Everybody. Which is the majority.
Yes, of course. Casper, as you certainly recall, Daniel, came out in 1995 and grossed $288 million at the box office. It was weirdly released in the month of May instead of the much more obvious choice of October. I don't get that. It was the first feature film, like I said, to have a fully CGI character in the lead role, and I read that one 90-second scene with Casper and Christina Ricci took 8 months to create.
They should have just done stop motion.
They should have just not made this movie. What they should have done.
That would have saved people at least 8 months.
Many more than that. This film is interesting because it goes for a darker interpretation of Casper in comparison to the previous comics, cartoons, and theatrical shorts,
right.
notably providing the character a tragic backstory that addresses his death. The screenplay gave a backstory of Casper being the ghost of Casper McFadden, a boy who died of pneumonia at age 12. Though some of the comics, particularly in the 60s, portrayed him as born a ghost to ghost parents. I love the idea of these ghosts fucking, and now you get pregnant even as a ghost.
And the ghost doula comes to help with the birthing. So this was like the Batman Begins of the Casper franchise.
Yeah, exactly. It spawned several straight-to-VHS movies no one has ever seen, ever. And I did read an interesting piece of trivia is that J.J. Abrams, he's done a bunch of shit since then. What's he done? Star Trek. We all know J.J. Abrams, right? What else has he done?
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars.
The newer Star Wars.
He's done a bunch of stuff. He did an uncredited rewrite of the script for Casper.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant he did, like, he on his own time was like, this was the Casper movie that should have been made.
And he put his own money into budgeting an entire film of the real Casper. Okay. All right. Well, what candy goes with Casper the Friendly Ghost?
This is a tough one. You know, I had one thing written down, but I'm going to go with something that kind of makes a little bit more sense. I'm going to say cotton candy because it's kind of like you're eating Casper, which is what we've always wanted.
Right. The little boy ghost died of pneumonia at age 12.
Yeah.
Eat him up.
Yeah.
Cotton candy.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go.
Yummy, yummy.
Aren't there those little peeps that are like ghosts shaped?
There are, but
That might not be
I wouldn't
candy.
want anybody to eat that.
I hate peeps.
No, they're awful. I originally was going to say bottle caps because it sounded the most like Casper, but I'm glad I came up with cotton candy. Yeah. That would have been embarrassing to say.
It was very brave of you. Let's go back through the top 10, but I'm actually going to start back at number 20 so you can see some of the other movies that just barely didn't make it. So number 20 was 1978 Halloween. 19 is Get Out.
Okay.
18 is Child's Play, the original from 1988. 17 is Us.
Okay.
16 is Death Becomes Her. Don't know how that made it on here.
Really?
15 is It from 2017. 14, Ma, Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember Ma with Octavia Spencer, was it?
Yeah. I just don't know how or why.
See, there was no way I was going to get more than what I got. I think considering what this list is, I got 100% here.
By definition and by indefinition, strongly disagree. You did okay. But I'm really surprised you didn't guess number 13, which is Tyler Perry's Boo! A Madea Halloween. What's wrong with you?
I was too afraid to mention it. It's such a scary. I mean, we talk about trauma in movies. That was just so scary. I can't even talk about it.
I understand. Number 12 is Midsummer, and number 11 is Trick or Treat.
Oh, okay.
I've actually never seen that one.
That's one, again, I saw in recent years. It's fun.
Fun? Okay. Unlike this recording. 10 is The Shining. Number 9 is the 2018 version of Halloween. Number 8 is Hereditary. Number 7 is Zombieland. Number 6 is the original Poltergeist. Number 5 is A Quiet Place. Number 4 is Casper. Number 3 is Beetlejuice. Number 2 is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And number 1, Hocus Pocus. Oh, I forgot to say the candies. I'll go real quick. The Shining you paired with Red Toxic Waste.
Yes.
Halloween you paired with Reese's Pumpkin. Hereditary went with Pez because of the popping off head. 7 Zombieland you went with Kit Kat because it's kind of like double tap. 16 is...
You know, when you repeat them back to... I went... Before you started repeating them back, I was like, I'm pretty proud of my candy choices. And when you start repeating the justification, I'm like, man, this is...
Well, you had to come up with something.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
But my favorite is the next one. Poltergeist, you went with Crackle because of the crackling TV.
Would you have preferred it if I had just picked a bunch of different chocolate-covered fruits?
No, you're right. This is much better. A Quiet Place, you went with Bunch of Crunch. I'm guessing because it's the opposite of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 is Casper. You went with cotton candy so we could pretend we're eating a 12-year-old ghost child. Number 3, Beetlejuice Zagnut, because you think Beetlejuice might have offered a Zagnut to somebody at some point. Number 2, The Nightmare Before Christmas is Smarties because they're kind of like eating skeleton bones. And number 1 is Hocus Pocus Caramel Apple Lollipops because that might have been in the movie at some point.
I feel like you're recounting a dream that I was recounting to you when explaining what I picked and why.
Listen, we all experienced this trauma together.
We did.
The last thing I'm going to ask of you, Daniel, is of the movies we talked about, which one is your personal favorite?
Nightmare Before obviously Casper, but
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
More than The Shining.
Well, you know what? The Shining is my top horror movie, but I think I would rather watch Nightmare Before Christmas any given day.
Yeah, and especially maybe for Halloween, because Shining is not specifically Halloween, it's just horror.
You got to be in a mood for The Shining.
Yeah. And I'm in a mood, Daniel, for you to tell the folks more about how they can hear more from you about candy.
If you want more 4 steps of logic candy justifications for things, you can listen to Candy is Dandy, the candy review podcast, anywhere you get candy podcasts. They come out the first and third Wednesday of the month. And we pick a different candy each week and give its history and review it. You'll like it.
You'll like it. Maybe not as much as you'll like Smarties or some other candies on this list, but you'll like it. I will put a link in the show notes, dear listener, if you want a quick shortcut to go listen to Candy is Dandy. I highly recommend it. Daniel, it's been a pleasure, my friend. You should come back on sometime soon.
I would love to, and I think next time I have to give you the list because we can't go through that again.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say it, but thank you.
I can't go through every Tim Burton movie except the one that makes sense one more time.
Seriously, like the quintessential Tim Burton movie. You couldn't do it.
I said Frankenweenie.
Oh, that's true. You're right. God, I like Halloweeny better. Okay, so listeners, I want to know what you thought of this list and Daniel's choices of candy. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Threads. If you got it, you can follow us at TennisPod. Shoot me a note. Let me know what you think. I'll be back next week with a new episode. And I'm going to be guessing Alex John's top 10 list for episode number 238. Till then, Daniel, any final words?
I think I didn't embarrass myself.
My gift to you this Halloween season is to not tell you my true feelings. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you, listeners. Goodbye.
Goodbye.